That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Daughter, the directorial debut of Corey Deshawn, which premiered at the 2022 Fright Fest Film Festival and is being released courtesy of Dark Star Pictures, February 10th, 2023.
Directorial debut. Mm-hmm. I didn't care for this movie.
I was surprised that you agreed or had an interest in watching this film.
Well, I watched the trailer and I thought it looked interesting, and I still feel how I felt about the trailer, which is I like how it looks and I like the vibe. And I mean, you know, seeing Casper Van Dien was fun, but the story just isn't there for me. This movie feels like reading an interesting headline,
or a log line,
and then that's it. Like, that's what they made the movie from, but there is no actual story. And I like using my imagination to fill in gaps, but I need something to put the pieces together. And this movie just feels so skeletal.
I like ambiguity. I think skeletal is a really good word to describe it. I think, I don't know, ambiguity and surrealism, all of those things are a lot of fun, but it's also very inert and flat and monotonous.
I do like it more than Skinamarink.
Sure, yeah. I didn't hate this movie. I just thought it was a little on the dry side.
Okay, the basic story, it's set like, the time is ambiguous, but maybe like 80s or sooner. But we're somewhere, we don't know where, in this house, and we see that Casper Van Dien has a wife and a son, but the film opens with him killing a lady. And then we see him taking another lady and holding her hostage and saying that she's the new daughter.
Mm-hmm. And she will only be called daughter or sister. And they're only known by their
kinship role.
Their kinship role, yeah.
So basically, we know so little, but it would appear that the woman who is the wife has been there for a year or so against her will. The son, for sure we know, is not the mother's son. And then we have this new kidnapped lady who's supposed to be the daughter. And it just so happens that everyone except Casper Van Dien is Asian, and the mom and the daughter are both Vietnamese. Mm-hmm. And so they can speak Vietnamese to each other. And so that's how we get a lot of little tidbits. Mm-hmm. And the mother is acknowledging, like, you know, you just need to do what you're told if you want things to go smoothly. She's also explaining the mother that, like, after 2 years of her following the rules, she will be allowed to leave.
That's what he tells them.
That's what he's... So...
Well, who would believe that? But...
And you can get into all the... I mean, it just feels like there's so much that isn't happening that could be happening. But the newly kidnapped daughter is convincing the son that they should tell a story and put on what turns out to be like this musical performance. And it has to be said that the character of the son is this extremely, I don't know how to describe him, like very effeminate, like obviously gay boy. And that's important to the story, I think.
I think so too.
Because when he and this newly kidnapped daughter are doing this musical performance, they're kind of like wearing like flashy clothes and wearing makeup.
And aluminum foil.
Which amounts to aluminum foil and like rouge and eyeshadow. Casper Van Dien's character gets upset at the son and starts like ripping away the clothes. And that's when the mother hits Casper and then escapes, like runs out the house. And then the son kills Casper Van Dien. So now it's just the two, the son and the daughter, and they escape in a pickup truck. And the final shot of the movie, or the final scene, is the daughter getting out of the truck saying that she'll get help.
And also what you didn't mention is that Casper Van Dien, the father, has, the mother and daughter know better, but has convinced the son that outside is toxic, and if you go outside, you'll be poisoned or contaminated. And so he has to wear some kind of breathing apparatus, and he also locks them up when he's not at home. And he has this thing where the son is making all these paintings, and he's actually selling them to this curator, and he's also drawing the boy's blood, and we're doing things with it we're not quite sure.
So Casper's character says, "Everything I do to protect that boy in there." He tells that to the newly kidnapped lady.
That just made me think of that Bryan Adams song.
Oh, everything I do. And I just, so there's that.
Like the son, he's building the son up like he's the second coming of Christ, like he's a savior figure almost.
And the son says, "I've had a lot of sisters and I'm always alone until they come back." So we do understand that there have been several women who have, because the mother explains that and the son, that several women have been in and out. And because we see Casper kill one in the opening of the film, so that I have so many questions.
And there's a whole ritual involved with that. He takes these Polaroids of these women, and after he kills them, presumably that's when he burns it. This ritual.
So like, is he he's a serial killer who's also feigning this like nuclear family situation? So many questions about that. I just, it's morbid and sick, but it's also supremely interesting. And this film gives you so little that I was like so uninterested by the end with what was happening.
Well, because there's nothing really subversive happening to the superficial elements that we do get are kind of derivative, because this could be like Arturo Ripstein's Castle of Purity or Yorgos Lanthimos' Dogtooth. I was even thinking a little bit of Lucky McKee's The Woman, but all of those have this more vibrant energy to them, as inherent to genre films or even melodramas, and this is almost a complete flat line. Like, they're wearing the same clothes in every scene.
They're also, Casper's like reading to them from a book that the way he's presenting it feels like religious,
it's like he
propaganda. I don't know what he's saying.
It's like he, maybe, I don't know, like he took the Bible and rewrote it for his own
something. And I mean, I was confused, like, what are you talking about? What is the purpose of this? It just feels very basic. Like the idea, like it's just this simple idea of like, oh, he's like a fanatic, and so he has these beliefs, but it's just like so watered down, like generic. You did point out something funny though, when the son and the daughter are reading from the book, they're not on the same page. Like, it's very obvious that one is like just starting the book and the other one's like a third of the way through. I thought that was funny. You mentioned he locks them up at times, which makes me question, does he go to work? How long is he gone?
He's gone for hours at a time. It's like, that's a lot of idle time. But also Joan Crawford did that to Christopher and Christina, so.
But I mean, we also see the mother and the daughter in the kitchen, like talking in Vietnamese, which we know Casper doesn't like. So that means that he wasn't around.
He wasn't in earshot. They're chopping up vegetables. Why isn't that planted in the back of his neck? I don't know.
Right. I don't understand how they don't like, I don't understand how someone hasn't taken a weapon of some sort and like incapacitated him.
But also when he does get upset about the son wearing makeup, it's like a man that's going to get upset about that there would have been other indications that he was upset with the boy's behavior, I think, before that.
So you mentioned that so he draws the boy's blood, and there's this huge supply of blood in the house, like the bags of blood. We also know the boy paints, and those paintings are sold. So the newly kidnapped lady writes a note.
Who's played by Vivian No, by the way, of Queen Sugar.
She writes a note saying, "I've been kidnapped, help me." And then she slides that note into the painting. And then we see the painting, like the person who receives it sees the note and throws it away. So that would indicate that they're in cahoots. So it's like, what's happening?
Or at most doesn't care.
I mean, that seems far-fetched that like a person would get like a note from someone who may have been kidnapped and not care.
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like that was to indicate that there's some sort of understanding of what's happening. So then it's like, you're just dropping all these major ideas that are so interesting, and then we get nothing.
Mm-hmm. But again, as the title suggests, it's told from her point of view. This daughter, the sister daughter. So she would have very limited knowledge, because the others in the house really have no idea what's going on.
Sure, but as a story, it's just not that. There are too many questions that it left me frustrated.
It left me frustrated, and innately there was nothing wrong with anybody's performance in the film. I think it's well enough acted. The director of cinematography is Hannah Kitsai. I do agree. I think it has there's a nice visual flair to a very kind of contained universe.
You didn't mention who plays the mother.
Oh, Elise Din, who I'm not familiar with, but a character actress that's been in a ton of stuff.
And then who plays the son?
Ian Alexander, who's in the series The OA, which I have not seen.
I think that all of the performances are fine.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked how it looked. It has sort of that... It looks like it's shot on film, maybe, like that vibe to it.
And Casper Van Dien, I guess, still has can pull in a certain faction of an audience, but I really haven't thought of him since Starship Troopers, or he was a supporting role in Sleepy Hollow. I really haven't thought of him.
He looks great.
He looks great. It's funny to think that he doesn't maybe have a similar career trajectory as someone at least like Josh Duhamel, based on how he looks and his abilities, but. There we are. But my first note about this thing was, what is this colonialist bullshit that is this movie? And again, I wanted more subversion. I wanted more clearer subtext that we were getting.
Well,
at.
even the fact that like he clearly has a thing for Asian people or women. I don't know what's happening, but it's
or that if that is his biological son, that the bio mother was Vietnamese, and maybe that's why he always has to procure people that look similar. At least, but the boy doesn't speak. We never see him speaking that, so I don't know.
What would you give it?
2 out of 5.
I would give it 2 out of 5 as well. Anything else?
No.
Hit the thanks button. Listen to our podcast. Bye.